Given the speed of progress, I think many people are estimating that what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, which all it means is that right now you have to train all these models and agents to do specific tasks. But AGI, just like human beings, they can learn new ways of doing things without needing the training information ahead of time. So usually the way it works today, if you wanted to have an AI agent learn how to drive, for example, it takes millions of hours of videos to then say, okay, now you know how to drive in all of these circumstances. But AGI would say, okay, I don't need this training information. I can figure this out on my own. So just like a human being. And some people forecast in 3 years or maybe even sooner, we'll get to that stage. So the technology may be here much sooner than we think.
It's a bad news.
It could create a lot of job displacement. And so some people, the way they think about it is, okay, well, there's going to be mass job displacements and we'll just have governments provide something called universal basic income. Fair. That's one way of dealing with the situation. Or a model that we believe in more is like, well, if I'm contributing to training these AI models, why shouldn't I get rewards for that myself? So my contributions, whether it's content, whether it's interacting with agents, whether it's providing training data for them, why shouldn't I get rewarded for that contribution? And to me, that seems like a much more fair system because then it becomes a choice. Here, if you lose your job and there's job displacement, it's not your choice. But here you can actually choose like, oh, I want to engage in this. I want to engage in this. Like maybe I really love baking and I want to train some of these models of how to bake like my grandma's favorite recipe. You just record a lot of videos of yourself, and then every time that's used for inference or training purposes, you get some type of reward. And so I think that's a much more kind of interesting, fair model that things like decentralized AI, so AI on blockchains, actually enables.
Let's talk about the trends. What trends do you see in the AI field right now?
Depends on if you're talking Web2 or Web3 AI. So Web3 AI is very much at, there's agents. And those agents are chatting on Twitter with each other or with human beings.
Sure.
So that's definitely a trend there. Web2 AI is more advanced in the sense that they've already started applying agents to different domains. Hospitals, for example, transcriptions. You can use AI agents for that. Tax consultants, like legal consultants. There's already AI agents for that. And there's many different domains that those agents have already started being applied. Even things like automating coding. Right now, you can augment people's coding styles just through some of these agents. In fact, you can go on something like Replit and say, go build me this app. And the agent figures out, okay, you want to build this app. Here's the type of framework I use. Maybe I'll use React. In order to deploy it, maybe I'll use Vercel. It's the easiest one to use. You want this type of logic. Okay, let me figure out the business logic first, program that. Let me figure out the interface. Okay, I'll build the interface now. And so it's very sophisticated already. That's all possible today even. And in Web3 AI, I think the next trend will be multi-agent interactions. So for example, how do I have a battle of AIs? Or how do I create a trading competition where you have an AI agent competing with a human agent or AI agent competing with each other? So I think that'll be a bit of a next trend, kind of utilizing financialization plus AI agents. And then eventually, I think we'll get to some of the utilities that Web2 AI is already doing in Web3 as well. There's a bit of a lag time right now between the two.
Where did you get all the information to stay on the edge of the technologies? Maybe you can share some of the, sources of information. Because it's a lot of information at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the sources of information that you interact on a daily basis is quite limited. But these sources, they can make a huge difference. So for the different person, like one of them interrupt this information in one way or the other one. Where can me as an entrepreneur, can I get all the latest, news or information about the AI technologies, AI implementation, AI use cases?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because my LinkedIn is my source for all Web2 AI.
Wow.
Yeah, because I follow, because I went through Y Combinator, I follow, the Y Combinator crew. They talk about kind of the latest development and market trends that they see. And they also talk about their requests for proposals. And then My email sometimes gives me a breakdown of everything that's chatted about in the Y Combinator chats as well. So I use those two sources essentially. So for people that don't have access to that, they can use LinkedIn plus, let's say, Hacker News, for example, and then follow Y Combinator and others. A lot of my friends are in the AI field, so I just see their posts consistently. It's like, oh, this new model came out and it's able to do that. Like, for example, I follow some people from A16Z and they talk about their new investments. And so I get kind of information and the way they think about the latest in AI. Web3 AI, it's primarily all X/Twitter, essentially. That's where a lot of the news there come from. And then sometimes some of the PR publications like Cointelegraph and so on that talk about it.
How much time per day do you spend on email?
Email, very little these days, much more on social media. I'd say maybe an hour on email max. And then social media, probably 2-3 hours or so every day.
Oh, which social media? X and LinkedIn?
Yeah, X and LinkedIn primarily. Sometimes a little Farcaster as well. I try to stay off things like TikTok and Instagram because it just sucks me in. The algorithms are so good that once I get into it, it's like, oh, this is really cool. Okay, let me look at it again. Look at me. The other thing that I would actually love to do is build an AI agent for me as well that analyzes all the new research papers that have come out for a particular day. And don't quote me on this, but I think there's like an AI research paper that gets released maybe every minute. So how can a human being like possibly actually stay on track? And then just summarizes it and says, okay, here's what it's about. Here was the research methodology. Here's the holes. Here's the benefits. Here were the results. How should we interpret them? And then just be able to consistently stay on trend, even more the cutting edge than what LinkedIn is. Because LinkedIn, by the time it hits my LinkedIn feed, it's probably a week old at this point because the research paper is already discussing something that's even more advanced the moment they come out. That would be another great use case for our technology. You can just build an agent with like fine-tuning and inference to actually analyze a lot of this stuff.
Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to watch a full episode and also check the links in the description below.